It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He's Gary. I'm Eric. Yada, yada, yada. Quit interrupting our pre-show meeting. Listeners, welcome to Thursday. Gary.
Oh, my gosh. I put this on X yesterday because I just burst out laughing when I saw it. Now, all this stuff is serious. I mean, there's serious things involved in here. Yeah. But there's always humor in everything. Right. And Senator Tom Cotton wrote this. Senate Democrats didn't have a single press conference on the border, crisis, or inflation. They couldn't care less. But ending U.S. taxpayer funding for trans poetry competitions in New Zealand, Democratic senators are ready to burn it all down.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, oh my gosh. I mean, it was so much fun yesterday. You know, the highlight for me, you know, was one of the highlights. Because it's just, I was, you know, in the group text with my buddies yesterday talking about stuff, and they're all conservative, and we were I told them, as I said yesterday, I called it information cocaine. That it's just you, and I told them, I said, basically it's political cocaine right now.
Was that a Eric Clapton album, Information Cocaine? Was it? It might have been.
It might have been. Now, did he write that, or was it J.J. Cale who wrote that?
Wrote Cocaine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was.
But
no, I meant information. I was kidding. Information.
Cocaine,
okay.
I see what
and I said it's political cocaine. I said I can't. I have to put down the phone after a while. It's just because I can't get to sleep in my second sleep shift because my mind is running. And I'll lay down to go to sleep, and I'm like, I got to check. Maybe there's an update on this one. Maybe there's an update on that one. Maybe there's an update on that. But it's great. I mean, I love what's going on. But one of my favorite things yesterday was when the story came out, and it was started by Trump surrogates, who the liberal media says, they got it wrong. USAID isn't just getting grants and funds. These are subscriptions that they are getting to Politico, where, you know, they're in a government office and they paid to get a subscription to Politico or the New York Times, whatever. Yeah. And they said, and it's only, I forgot what the number was, 24,000 there because it's spread out among all the agencies. And I sat there and I went, and like, so you guys were wrong on that. It wasn't just Politico getting, it's spread out again about all these agencies. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was Levitt, I would have gone on the podium and said, well, thank you so much for that update. Now we'll investigate all these agencies.
Right. You want to help us go through all the agencies now? We can expand this very easily.
It's
they just keep making it worse.
I mean,
they really do.
And then yesterday we ended the show with an email that we got that's, you know, I just love it. As a normal American. Let me think the guy wrote that. It was the last thing we read on the air. Right. As a normal American, I'm very concerned that someone who isn't an elected official has access to sensitive, information and is a government agency, but pretend whatever it was. And I'm just like, do you know what's going on? And then basically was saying our ignorance, that we're ignorant on.
Right. We were drunk on our own ignorance,
something like that is what it was. And we're just like, do you know what the hell you're talking about? Because when you look at it, and you had mentioned, because you're talking about Elon Musk, and I just, when I got home, I just went into Google and said, private companies that consult the Pentagon. There's just a list of private companies, everything from who they should hire, human resources, you name it. Anything you could possibly imagine, you have private people that are involved in consulting the government. It's all over the place.
Right.
There's probably hundreds and hundreds of private consulting companies that consult the government. And as you pointed out, Elon Musk runs a defense company.
Yeah.
He runs a defense contractor. They deal with communications of intelligence with the U.S. government. You go through and look at what they have. This guy has tremendous access to sensitive government information. But the best thing of it yesterday was, as I'm, I wake up, grab my phone, and I'm like, okay, you got to get out of bed. Because I'll sit there and I'll be laying in bed, won't even get out of bed, and I'm like 45 minutes, just going through everything as soon as I wake up. So you got to get out. So I get out of bed and make a cup of coffee and get on the couch, turn on the TV, flicking out of YouTube, and just go, whatever interests me, I hit that, then it goes in random shuffle.
Right.
And all of a sudden what comes up? Jason Alexander's podcast.
All right.
George Costanza on Seinfeld.
And remember, it's not a podcast if you don't listen to it.
And they've got this expert consultant to the Pentagon who was on, who was talking about what is the weapons potential of Putin. How does Putin think? What do they have compared to the United States in weapons systems? And this is one of the absolute premier consultants to the Pentagon and experts on weapon systems, missiles, everything, who has top secret clearance. Who is this person who was interviewed by Jason Alexander? Jeff Skunk Baxter from Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers.
A guy nicknamed Skunk.
Skunk, yes. And it was great.
He's awesome.
It was
great.
It was absolutely great. And it's like, people have no idea. It's like, well, we don't want that guy as a consultant, though. That's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I told you during the pre-show meeting, I don't have any reason to be concerned about Elon Musk having access to sensitive information anywhere close to the concern I have with Adam Schiff at one time being the chairman for the House Intel Committee.
Exactly.
If you don't know the story of how the first impeachment went down, it's mind-boggling. And the problem with the left is they keep, as you started, they keep pointing out things that don't help them. Every time they bring, look, free advice to the Democrats. I'm just going to tell you, keep talking. Because if you were paying me to get results, and I only got paid by the results, selling my soul and whatnot, I would tell you to shut up. Stop talking. Go back to the delusional thing of, I don't know, hey, we're going to give you more money. Hey, we're going to give you more handouts. Hey, how about that free health care? Let's talk about that again. I don't know, whatever, something, anything else than what you're doing now. I mean, it really is insane, and they don't see it. Not only do they not know, they don't have any self-awareness, they don't know how to read the room. I want the president to know I have illegals living in my home. Oh, I didn't mean illegal, and I didn't mean in my home. Sorry about that. Sorry, I just with the nothing to see here. I wasn't talking. That wasn't me. It's insane, and every single day they show they have no self-awareness. I'm really convinced now that they don't have anybody. They keep saying, oh, we need a Joe Rogan. You had Joe Rogan. In fact, for the longest time, we need an Elon Musk. You had him too. And then they don't realize what they're saying. We're not smart enough to really get the ideas across. The fact of the matter is, nobody in office for the Democrats right now has there is nobody at the top of the list. I mean, technically, the top of the list, the loudest, is AOC. And at the top of the list, Hakeem Jeffries in the House and then Schumer in the Senate.
And then Crockett from Texas, and she's a complete nutcase.
Yeah, right. You know, these are they have noisemakers, which they've already had, but there's nobody at the top of the list that is the future of their party.
They had to bring out Maxine Waters again.
Somebody woke up Maxine Waters.
I hadn't seen her. I don't remember the last audio cut we played. We played her yesterday. I don't remember the last audio cut I played of her.
I don't think there was one in 24. I don't think there was one in 24. So it goes back maybe a couple of years.
I don't remember playing her at all during the Biden administration. It's like they only pull her out. Look, we need. Do we have a complete idiot out there?
Yeah.
We don't. We're done with idiots. Give us a complete idiot.
Right.
You know, look, you're 80% idiot. You're 90%. You're 95. You're 98.5. We need a 100% idiot. Where's Maxine Waters?
Right. Exactly.
And then the Republicans now promoting the fact. We'll get to the Ducey question yesterday at the White House press briefing about all the violent rhetoric coming from Democrats and the response from the White House. No, we abhor this, all this violent rhetoric coming from there. To show you how bad it is, you know, we'll get to the story here in a little bit to go through everything, but the late night talk show hosts are all as far left as you can possibly get, are like, shut up, get these people out of here. Here's Jon Stewart, and yes, it is the bad stuff is bleeped, okay?
All right.
This is Jon Stewart. Here we go.
Please stop trotting Schumer out there every time Trump traverses into the unreal. He's not good at this. What is the decision-making process here? Hey, who should we get out there to effectively battle one of the most savvy presidential media manipulators in history? Oh, I don't know. How about Schumer? He's uninteresting, but at least he's monotone.
Well, it's... But,
I got to play this part.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I realized I cut it off too soon.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, wait, and Chuck, before you go out there, you look too young. Put on these readers and lower them on your nose.
And you know what it is? There is no new direction. There's no new leadership, and they recognize.
Yeah,
I mean, you talk about the liberals. We've talked about the Trump surrogates that are out there, but the liberal surrogates really is, which they believe were the most effective in the past, were the late night talk show hosts. And now they're all turning against, saying this isn't working. Why are you doing the same thing over and over and over again?
Right. Well, because, and here's the thing too, they bought into this whole their own entire campaign about rock stars, right? Their whole thing back with Obama that started to fade in his second term, and now it's pretty much all but gone because they all want to be their own rock star. They don't want to do the adoration of somebody else. Nobody on Capitol Hill on the left wants to adore anybody else. They want to make it about themselves. So then you have, and it culminates, basically, it manifests in AOC. So is she the future of the party? No. Is David Hogue? No. No. And why is it? David Hogue pointed it out. He said it himself. I don't think he realized what he was saying at the time. The new vice chair of the and a liberal activist who has been, you know, he's a radical, total radical, but
Boss Hogue.
Boss Hogue. He's now the vice chair of the DNC. Well, you know, here's the thing. By the way,
think about that. David Hogue is vice
chair of the DNC. That's how bad it's got. And then one of the things he points out in his speech the other day is that how people his age, he's not even 25 yet, how people his age and his age group, let's say 18 to 30, they're losing them. Well, you're losing them for a reason, and you keep picking at the wound. And it's not going to heal, and the reason it's not going to heal is because your side has been doing the wrong thing, been too radical for too long, and you can't do that forever. And now they're at the end of their rope. They don't have anybody who wants to run. That whole rock star thing, if anybody who was on the left that, I don't know, might have a new idea or a sane approach or something that, might work politically, doesn't want to run for office. They don't want to do that. They want to be on YouTube. They want to be on Instagram. They want to monetize. They want to be on TV. They want to be on something else, anything else. What you see in the GOP right now, there's a whole list of them that are leading right now, that are the future of their party. And they're prominent everywhere. Why? Not because they want to be a rock star, because they're doing the work.
Well, if the Democrats need a rock star, I was thinking, well, who could they? Taylor Swift.
Exactly. I'm running for office, whatever that is.
Run for office.
Yeah.
Swifties, I want your vote.
Yes.
And I'm just, but really, when you think about it, there's no one. And that's what Jon Stewart is recognizing. Because if you watch that whole thing, and we can't, the thing is, there's so many curse words when they had that press conference yesterday. There's GD, there's a-hole. I mean, they're just going crazy, and they look completely unhinged. And then the analysis comes in. It's like, well, they're talking about cutting things that need to be cut in the budget. Yeah, but they got that wrong. Yeah, but they got 99.9% right. And the part they got wrong, they realize now that the payments, for example, to buy subscriptions to, liberal publications is more widespread than they thought. So the public looks at it and go, well, they're talking about cutting. They said they were going to cut. They're going line by line. That's what they're doing. If you disagree with what they're cutting, well, then say it, but you're not doing that. You're not actually attacking that, and it's pretty obvious.
Right.
866-90-RED-I.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Tires command a lot of attention. As a top expense for drivers and a leading cause of CSA violations, any tire maintenance practice that can help extend tire life is worth consideration. Consider tire balancing, which can set you up for savings and a smoother ride before your tires touch the highway. Tire balancing and wheel alignment are different services, but both contribute to a smoother ride and should accompany tire replacements or repairs. Tire balancing corrects an uneven distribution of weight in tires and wheel assemblies, providing improved vehicle handling, increased fuel economy, and the overall lifespan of your tires. Balancing your tires also helps keep vehicle hardware like cab rivets tight and can help with the resale value of your vehicle.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I've got to play this audio here. Republican Representative Eli Crane from Arizona yesterday. Government efficiency and waste is what they're talking about. It was a House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. And here was just the first part, a short statement that he wanted to make out of concern for his colleagues on the other side.
Mr. Chairman, would it be possible to get some therapy dogs in here for my colleagues on the other side of the aisle?
We could ask Mr. Raskin Shrink to.
I'm worried about their mental stability.
Wow. Well, they're doing exactly what we suspected they would do immediately after the election, which is we haven't raised the level of shrill to a dog whistle.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to get up there, except they're never going to reach the dog whistle. It's just going to be the very higher and louder octave that all human beings can hear and cringe and go, God, just shut up.
Yeah. I wish it was at only dog whistle levels, because then none of us would have to listen to it. But
Right.
it is not.
No, it has not. No, it's not going to reach dog levels.
Nope.
Well, then again, you would have PETA come after them if it went up any higher.
Because they would be annoying the dogs. Yeah.
But what a day it was yesterday. We've got it all covered. Tell you the imagery of Trump surrounded by all girls and women yesterday signing that bill. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was actually the best thing that came out of yesterday.
Yeah.
There were a lot of stuff, but that was, to me, that was the best.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio. from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. The imagery of this was very powerful yesterday. This is when President Trump signed the executive order to ensure that men don't compete with women in sports. Here's part of this audio.
You want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? Are you ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that.
He's signing his name.
Yeah.
I want to make this a really good signature because this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Pretty good, huh? I see that. Okay? Good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right? Nice to see you all. Great going, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you, kids. Here, take a pen. I'll give some of these out, okay? Take a pen.
I mean, the imagery was really, really, really powerful. Now, I want to make, Riley Gaines, and I'm paraphrasing here, came out and said, well, that's, basically this is the end of it. No, it's not.
No,
it's not. This is only an executive order. This can be reversed by the next Democratic president.
Yeah.
And I was reading a couple of articles yesterday saying that the Republicans in Congress aren't talking about, clarifying what Title IX means. Remember, Title IX came from legislation from Congress, and they need to put in, because what you need to do is to make it harder next time for if a Democrat president gets in there to reverse it by executive order.
Right.
You need to say that when, Title IX specifically is about biological men and biological women. Right. And if Congress doesn't do it, then it's a temporary reprieve for the next 4 years, but it doesn't change it. And the only thing that you would hope is that Democrats in Congress would now try to put some type of lawsuit against Trump saying, no, men should be able to do it, because then you get back to the same old thing that helped them lose the election last year.
Right. Yeah.
But Republicans in Congress need to get on this.
Yeah, it's imperative, and that has to be the overall mission. That's the best you can do, unless there was a huge, and if there is a huge blue wave at some point, and Congress wants to come back and revisit it, we'll see if that happens. But you want legislation. You don't want the next administration to come in with the pen, undo it. Now, my question would be, in what scenario? Because I really do believe this is, on this issue, you're battling with parents. You're battling with women in sports and parents. And politically, they won. This was a big, big issue for female voters. It was the driver over abortion.
That was the feminist issue of 2024.
Yeah.
And the poll showed it post-election.
Right.
And I'm laughing because Democrats never saw that one coming, did they?
Well, and so that makes me wonder, all right, so where is it now politically, and what would change that? What would bring back the drive where Americans would say, no, we want an administration and Congress that supports men and women's locker rooms and playing men's sport or women's sports? What would drive that? And I don't know what that would be. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying I think it would take a hell of a lot to change that moment. It's not a political momentum. It isn't. It's something that happened that
I have an answer to your question.
Yeah. What?
What is the insanity of the Democrats?
Well, yeah, that's
Right,
that's a given. But I mean,
that's the
no, I know what they want to do.
Right.
What the Democrats in office. I'm talking about the rank and file public.
well, no, it's not a winning issue at all. Interesting conversations going on social media yesterday, saying is what the Democrats attempted to do here, because when you saw the imagery with the president yesterday and all these girls around, okay, now you can play sports and you can play against other women. You don't have to play against men. And all these girls and teenagers, I mean, because there were young girls, teenagers, women. It was all women surrounding the president. You cannot politically beat that imagery.
No, you can't.
That was there at that point.
And at one point he said, and now you can go out there and win.
Yeah, exactly.
That was, I think, and it's kind of, it's Trump making the point in that moment, but that's one of the points. It was, and it's not just winning in terms of winning a game or winning a season. It's not winning more points or a better, getting a better time, a faster time. It's about winning overall, knowing that you're going to actually be on the team. You've got a chance to make the team, and it's not going to be a man that gets in your way.
This I saw this one post that said, has there ever been a bigger political own goal than pushing the ideas that males should be able to compete in female sports? I don't think so. And there was just a great discussion going on social media yesterday. Everybody that I saw on the one side, even the commenters, no, men shouldn't be playing in female sports. And I think the president coming out and doing this and having, again, the imagery of all the women around there, the fact that Republicans can now say, and we've talked about it, that the misogyny, because I think Riley Gaines it was so important that she came out. She had the guts to do it. You and I were on this years ago, and we said on the air numerous times, it's not the impact isn't going to be there if the only people talking about this are conservative men. Mm-hmm. Because that's where it was.
Yep.
Women were quiet on this. You didn't have them coming out. And then you had slowly, this is even before like Martina Navratilova came out. Then you had Martina Navratilova come out, and then somebody who was viewed as a hero of the LGBTQ movement was now the oppressor. And we've always used her as an example of why the Democrats have such a problem, because of their victim-oppressor mentality and the identity politics that, sorry, you're a gay woman. Mm-hmm. You must be for, if you're a lesbian, you must be for men playing against you.
Yeah.
As if that was some type of logical connect the dots narrative and morality that they must hold.
Yeah.
And so she did it, and she got hit. Who was the I can't think of the name of the woman. Remember the woman that came out and she said that no, male prisoners should not be with women, and she was kicked off some board or whatever it was. Remember that? I can't think of her name.
Right.
And she was one of the ones that actually testified, and she's gay. She was gay also. Mm-hmm. And she was eviscerated. I mean, absolutely eviscerated. And remember, even with Trump doing this yesterday and the incredible imagery and women now realizing that this is the women's rights issue right now, every single Democrat except two in the Democratic Party in the House, every single one except two, voted for men to compete against women, men to be in women's private places, men to define what a woman is. So understand, it may not be the mainstream of the Democrat voter anymore, but it is absolutely mainstream for who controls the Democratic Party on a federal level, and that's the Democrats in Congress, and it is as mainstream as, I was going to say apple pie. I'm sure there's some criticism of apple pie, so I'm not going to try to make it a comparison. But it's as mainstream, it's as normalized inside the insanity. And you saw it yesterday. You saw the screaming and everything else about, all right, we're going to go through. This debt is just ridiculous. We can't have this debt anymore. The federal government's too big. We can't be raising taxes. We need to find out and go line by line what to cut. And the absolute insanity coming out across the board on all of this. I would expect that there'll be a protest. It may not be a big protest because Democrats aren't in the protest mood, but I could see Democrats holding a press conference in the next couple of days screaming and yelling that men should be able to play against women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
the insanity is absolutely inside the Democratic Party. And as we said before, not only is the misogyny, they are absolute misogynists. They are women haters. The Democratic Party, the Democrat Congress, the Democrat leadership, they hate women.
Yep.
There's a ton of self-misogyny inside the Democrat Congress right now, and the identity politics, the racism of judging people by groups and not individuals, this Neanderthal thinking comes exclusively to you from the Democrats in Congress. Any Democrat in Congress, you please tell me where we're wrong here, because you can't. You're insane on these issues.
And that's why I say I don't, because this is more than just momentum. This isn't just political momentum. This is reality driving this. And as long as you want to be delusional and you don't want to step into reality, you're going to lose. I don't know what you do. The problem is they put everything into identity politics. They've invested all of it. And they've gone bust. They still have their fringe, they still have their left. But think about this. I was saying earlier, okay, who would have been the future of their party? Think about this. They pointed them out themselves. People like Joe Rogan. People like, because he endorsed Bernie at one time. Elon Musk, the forefather of EVs. Elon Musk. Right? He was the coolest guy ever until. And then you look at Matt Taibbi, all of the Twitter files individuals. Schellenberger ran for office. Barry Weiss. Now you look at Mark Pincus and all of these other people who were Democrats before, who were liberals before, and they're still liberals in some way. But they've looked at the Democratic Party and said, "You guys are nuts. We're not going to be a part of this." If there were any, because everybody, remember, we bring it up all the time, but it bears repeating here. Obama, the smartest guy in the room. Not really. He could deliver a speech. I know a lot of people who can do that. But here's the question, and it's always the question, where's the future of any given party? Man, I was really thinking the GOP was reaching the end, and it was like, it's all establishment. There are a few exceptions there, and there are no real leaders. Even the conservatives, those two guys that were in the party that are left, the real conservatives, it's like, I still don't know that they're the future. But on the stage last summer, you saw the future of the party.
Yeah, you did.
You saw the people who are willing to fight. Now you see them going to work. Some of those same people actually, again, John McNamara, do the job, do the work. Well, the Democrats have never been about doing the work and doing the job.
I was thinking yesterday, I saw a picture of her, and I said, she probably has a better chance of winning the Democrat nomination. I'm thinking Hillary. Hillary doesn't look so bad now.
She's
right. By comparison, that's how bad it is.
She's less radical. Yeah, that's how bad it is.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. When you think about it, the only sane, the only half-sane Democrat right now, if the public is looking at who's promoting anything that is even in the ballpark of sane, is Uncle Fester's son, Fetterman.
Yeah, right.
That's really about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
everybody else is completely lost.
Yeah,
completely nuts.
And I don't think he's the only one that sees it in terms of any of them on Capitol Hill. But how dare you, if you want to go against the insanity, if you want to turn and say, "Oh no, we're not doing that anymore," well, you're gone. Fetterman has some cover because he's in Pennsylvania, and he kind of doesn't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he doesn't win the next election, he's going to be okay with that.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I put something on X, which is really interesting. It's a former Democrat. I guess he's a producer of videos and films and things like that. I don't know who he is, but I know Elon Musk responded to him. Mike Johnson did, the Speaker of the House, and others. This guy was, you said, voted Democrat for 15 years, loyal Democrat, voted for Biden, was actually in a video, a Democrat video. And now he's completely and totally rejected them. I put it on my X page, at Gary Red Eye 1, and I copied you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just so people can see it. But if you want to know where it's all going in the first 2 weeks, because he talks about the first 2 weeks.
Right.
And he talks about everything that's going on right now. And you can just tell. One of the really interesting things is, you had the Never Trumpers, and they've sort of lost any type of impact. And you really weren't gaining, once you got the Never Trumpers, you really didn't have a lot of people jumping on the last couple of years to be a Never Trumper.
Right.
And, but they have been some of Trump's fiercest critics, to the point where they couldn't win it alone on what they thought they could, which was, the lawfare, the impeachments, whatever. So they started turning liberal, as we said. We go, oh, my God, you're promoting liberal ideas. Some of the most passionate anti-Democrat people out there are people that were Democrats and now are saying, I've been lied to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he really mirrors what you would see from a Rappaport or a Barry Weiss or a Mark Pincus, the billionaire, the tech billionaire that has rejected now the Democrat Party. And Pincus just recently, in the last few months, and I don't know when this guy changed, but it seems like he's just changed very recently, but the last 2 weeks has just driven him crazy. And it's really interesting. You may want to check it out again at Gary Red Eye 1. I would play it here, but there's too many. I don't have time to edit it.
Right.
And there's language warning. There's a lot of F words in it.
Right.
But that's part of the passion and the fury, because you hear him and you say, this guy's furious. I mean, he's livid.
Yeah.
It's not that he has said, I disagree with where you're going on the issues. It's what you get from Democrats that are leaving is absolute fury because they believe they've been betrayed, because they've been lied to consistently. And as we've also found out, some of these Democrats that are furious at them, former Democrats that are furious at themselves because they didn't do their own homework.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that going on. It's and I don't know, because my question would be for them, okay, what was the emotion you got wrapped up in? It's either anger or euphoria or both, right? That motivates you to go off on whatever. We saw euphoria during 2008, Obama. We saw anger pretty much ever since. But those are your two emotional motivators if you're on the left, to the point that it blinds you. Michael Rappaport, Mark Pincus. I mean, they were just learning last year that the Charlottesville lie was indeed a lie.
Yeah.
And we all knew it from day. Here's the thing.
We knew it from day one.
Which means you weren't paying attention to the opposition and what they were saying. The audio cuts we play are primarily from the left. Most of them are from the left. Yeah. We play some from the right, but there are many from the left because they make their point. They're not going to come on our show. We think it's better for them to play what they said when they said it, from that moment, because that's how that's when you get that genuine thought. Well, we were making the case from day one on Charlottesville. That's not what he said.
Yeah.
So my frustration would be, man, how did you not see it? You weren't paying attention to what we were saying back then, the argument, because the reason we ask that is anytime there's an argument from the left or anywhere, you're looking to stamp out that argument. You want to find the truth so you can prove the other side wrong. And they didn't do that. And I can't tell you why that didn't happen. They're not the only. And by the way, I respect them for saying out loud, we didn't do that. It was a lie. We were lied to. And Rappaport was, at least I don't know if Pincus phrased it this way, but basically Rappaport said, and I am paraphrasing here, I believe their lies, and that's on me. Okay, so he took responsibility for that. Great, that's good.
And I got the same thing, I think, from the billionaire Mark Pincus, where he was talking about
just saying, I don't know. I don't, it's he was upset and angry and everything else. And we can sit and go, well, why weren't you paying attention then? But they're here now. And it tells me they're not the only ones. Because you look at it, at where the Democrats are. And where do they go? I mean, ask yourself, what is the future? I was asking myself, and I didn't really see a future for the GOP. I said it during the first term of Trump's first term. Is there anybody that's willing to go and put everything on the line, give up where he was a multi-billionaire. He didn't need to serve. He could have gone on talk shows for the rest of his life talking about the things that he thinks need to be done, like he did for decades, without actually giving up, the adoration from the left and his stardom and his celebrity status and everything else. But he decided to jump in. He did. And he went to work. Well, the GOP has laid down for so long, and it's just, I mean, the vote on Hegseth from the former Senate Majority Leader, the no from McConnell, that's one of those burning embers, from the GOP. And I was asking, where's the future of the party? People are going to have to fight. Lindsey Graham woke up during some of the confirmation hearings for SCOTUS for a few minutes. But let's face it, that wasn't going to go on forever. And the problem is you still need some of those votes, even though McConnell may not be on board with you. You need all of the GOP votes you can get, because you still have, you have a majority in the Senate, and that's a good thing, but you need all the votes you can get. In the House, it's a slim majority. but the future of the party is there. The future, now they have to do the work. They can't just be loud. They have to do the work. And so far, work is being done, and we'll see how the American people judge them and what their scorecard is.
The Republican Party cannot just be Trump in executive orders.
No, it has to be.
Congress has to do their job.
And we've been saying this all along. You're going to have meaningful movements, and while they're not permanent, it literally takes an act of Congress in order to change it if you get it done on Capitol Hill.
But it's the reason I wanted to post that comment on X by the guy by the name of Isaiah L. Carter. And from what I see, he's a producer, Democrat for the longest time, actually involved in being in Democrat videos, who now has rejected the Democratic Party. And again, I put it on X, on my X page, at Gary Redeye1, and also copied you at Eric Harley, right?
Yeah, I reposted it.
Okay. Oh, did you? Okay, good. All right. At Eric Harley. And is because you want, there's people that are reactionary on both sides. Republicans aren't close to being as reactionary as Democrats are, but you get, the quick reaction. You had, for example, Rand Paul came out and said, about Trump talking about Gaza. What happened to America first? This isn't what. You had Mick Mulvaney, who served in the last administration, saying, this doesn't sound like Donald Trump when we started the show. And this is on the Gaza thing. And when you and I came in, we said, you can't accuse him of being an isolationist anymore. And there's a number of stories, whether they're true or not, inside the White House, that they were shocked by it, that some aides knew it was coming. But Trump didn't have a specific plan. I think you and I were quite sober about the whole Gaza thing. And, we had some fun with it about, it become a live golf tournament, the Gaza live golf tournament. But you and I both looked at it and said, because by the time we talked about it, it was a few hours old, and you had his middle-aged envoy, as Mike Whitlock, come on and say, this is something, Gaza, this is something that wouldn't happen for 15 years. That's how long it's going to take to rebuild it. And so, and then you had the White House sort of backing up a little bit. Well, no, that doesn't mean, we're not talking about U.S. troops actually being in there, when the president actually did bring up if U.S. troops are needed, they're going to be there. But as you and I said, look, it was sort of a thing of we back Israel 100%, Hamas must go, and we envision the dream of Gaza, becoming a great place in the future. And like Trump, the developer, he talked the way that he talked. I mean, does Trump embellish once in a while as to what his dream might be? Yeah, but that's fine. I have no, I've got no problem, with that at all. Does Trump always effectively communicate? No. But is he communicating more effectively than he was 4 years ago? Absolutely. But the people are looking overall, you have on what Trump was talking about, 80% of Israelis that agree with him. He made the case. This is what I got out of it. Not that in 10 years it's going to be a resort town or a resort place for people all over the world to go to. That's the dream. The reality is we back Israel and Hamas must go. Well, that's what you and I got out of it.
Yeah.
And the president, by saying it, said, and whatever we need to do, goes. Now, we had said when Trump was accused of being an isolationist, we said, no, he's not. He doesn't want to be in wars that we don't wish to win. Mm-hmm. We must have a strategy to win it. He looks and says, we're dominant. Why are we messing around in these places? If we're going to do it, you go in and you do it and you get it done. And I think that's what, his opinion on Israel is too, that no way, Hamas does not get to stay. And if people wish to leave, they can. And then the Democrats want to get involved in the minutia of it. Well, not every single, and we had mentioned this. We said, well, some of the challenges are not every Palestinian will want to leave and be resettled elsewhere. the White House came out and said, well, no, that would be temporary resettlement. Well, the president didn't say that. He said permanent, actually, in the quote. But it doesn't matter. Everybody wants to get around the edges of what Trump is saying when that message that we found that was 100% clear, not the dream of what you would want. And we're not going to get into the speculation of how many Palestinians. I mean, we looked at that as a challenge that he would have. But overall, that was a great thing that he did.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great thing. And Rand Paul's, this isn't America first. It's not America. Well, having Israel as an ally to do our dirty work, if it's necessary in the Middle East, is America first. You and I have said this for the longest time.
Yeah.
So, again, you can't, with Trump, you've got to look at what the message actually was. And the message was, we support Israel, and Hamas has to go. Oh, and we also saw, this didn't get news at all. You know, also in the last, was a day and a half, the money for oil, Iran.
Yeah.
You know, that's back. That's back again.
Right.
That's gone.
Yep.
And so these are all good things that he's doing in the Middle East. And I do think because of the Abraham Accords that you have the countries in the Middle East going, Trump can bring stability here.
Yeah.
And that's the important part of it. And saying you back Israel and at the same time being part, the creator really of the Abraham Accords, he gets credit for all of that.
Yeah.
They look at it and say, okay, he wants to bring stability across the board and is saying that's what the United States wants. And I'm serious about it. And we'll defend that as the United States because we believe it's in our best interest. Right. I think that that's fine, but everybody gets caught up in the stuff that really doesn't matter. A dream is a dream.
Because the effect of the entire thing, really, especially the presentation at the joint press conference, was about imagine a Gaza without Hamas.
Right.
Imagine truly a peaceful Gaza that people wouldn't be afraid to visit. Someone wrote the article. Oh, I saw the headline, and it was, the response, basically, who would want to visit Gaza? That's the point. Right now, they wouldn't. I think it was related to the White House presser yesterday. Well, if they ask me, of course, they wouldn't want to visit Gaza. That's the whole point. Yeah. Imagine a place that people wouldn't be afraid to visit.
And that's fine. It's fine to have a goal.
Yep.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
It's a common road rumor that it's impossible for one-truck owner-operators and even carriers with just 2 or 3 trucks to get freight direct from the source, the shipper. Yet, hard-won experience from untold numbers of owner-operators with authority disproves the notion. Search your home base area and, later, frequent freight destinations to find all the manufacturers, distributors, and other shippers in the area. Once you get that list, ask yourself if those companies know who you are and what you do. If not, you're leaving opportunities on the table. Strive to own your backyard, to build a solid foundation for the business. For many a small fleet, it's the loads outbound from home that are the bread and butter. But you can take that same approach to the destination area, identifying shippers there and getting on the phone to make sure they know who you are and what you do. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Wow, there's so much to talk about. I'm just reading You know how they have the X site now, rapid response, the White House does?
Right.
That's really good, especially on the Trump signing the executive order that biological women play against biological women, and that's it.
Right.
And the Democrats trying to promote it. You know, this is something, you know, when you look at the first 2 weeks, and that's why we posted that comment by that post by a guy by the name of Isaiah Carter, who has rejected the Democratic Party, because you wonder how the first 2 weeks are going. And you have to understand, people aren't paying attention. You know, as much as I think it's wrong for government officials to be buying rags like Politico or the New York Times, where people really are getting their information is online.
Right.
And social media is driving everything.
Yep.
And the Democrats are getting destroyed on social media. I'll give you a few examples coming up.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
All across America. Welcome and good morning. We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm sorry, I just decided to go to the Babylon Bee. Big mistake. Big mistake. I mean, no, actually, it wasn't a big
Distraction.
mistake. Great distraction.
Yeah.
Well, here's some of the headlines, okay?
All right.
Liberals outraged as Trump says men can't punch women in the face for sport.
Oh, my gosh.
Democrats warn Trump's unelected shadow government is dismantling their unelected shadow government. I think. And I have to take the quiz. I'm not going to go through it, but the headline, quiz. Can you guess which of these things USAID actually funded and which ones we made up? This may be my favorite, though. Okay.
All right.
Babylon Bee announces $36,000 a month pro subscription for USAID-funded government agencies.
I love it.
Oh, my gosh. That's just great.
That's great.
Doge eliminates Congress after audit finds it is completely useless and mostly for show. Oh, my gosh.
Wow. I love it.
Oh, they're just...
Did you see McCabe? He said...
about
the FBI is in shambles. Again, it's because that's a whole shadow government thing from Babylon Bee made me think of that. How dare they disrupt our weaponization of the FBI? Right. That's what I read from the McCabe thing. That's I look at this and I think to myself, because for me and many of us, it's what are the threats from the left, right? What is it about their agenda and the future of that agenda, if there's going to be one, that is a threat to us or our family? All right, an open border, we know that threat. We know an economy with inflation that's just not going away and prices that aren't coming down. That's a threat. And what the left started with the liberal transgender movement of having boys playing on women's teams and be in women's locker rooms. And that was a threat, and you saw that, and I said from the beginning, you're taking on the parents. You're not taking on the right. You're taking on the parents, and you're not going to win that. And right now, they're not winning that. So the reason you and I analyze and we ask what the future of the Democratic Party is that you have to get people on board, and then identity politics is separating people over and over again. Well, you got to bring people together to get them to vote for you. I don't have any doubt that they'll win elections going forward, but how does the movement actually grow? when reality is really serving them, these losses, serving up losses for them over and over again. I just don't know where they go. That I don't know how they would appeal in any new way, because it's no longer about personality. Obama killed the idea of the rock star. They played that out fully. And I don't see that coming back, because in today's world, I'm the boss, AOC, which is to say I'm the rock star. I'm here. It's about me. It's not about somebody else. Again, you have to bring others around. Everybody has to point to that guy or that girl and say, that's the one. That's the one. Well, they couldn't do that. They ended up with Kamala Harris. I mean, and she in the polls was doing better than Newsom, the king of California. My gosh, how do you, well, because the problem is they have built their own brick walls that it's like they're, for the first time, they go out and get a construction job and they build a building and they're on the inside when they're done, and they didn't build any doors to get out. They keep running into walls everywhere they go. Their own rules work against them. DEI had it to the point that they had money already allocated to spend. But because of DEI and the rules change, you heard them doing the vote for the DNC the other day. He said, well, this isn't what you read a few days ago. This isn't what you got last week. He was updating the rules because their rules update on the fly, and DEI's ever-changing rules had it to where they couldn't pick contractors. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't move. They couldn't spend money that was already spent.
Yeah, think about that, because that, it's funny because when you said they picked Kamala Harris, and then when you talk about, because it's something that we have brought up, that liberalism, you have seen where liberalism goes, where liberalism gets to the point. And I will look at liberalism as different than where it's gone in its own oppressive way, as being different from being even communist or socialist. Liberalism is taken to the point where they can still do the socialist thing of tax you and get your money.
Right.
But liberalism in the United States and in Europe got to the point where they could tax you, take the money, but didn't have the ability, because there's no forward thinking to understand that the regulations that they put in, think about it. When you say, well, Republicans are saying overregulation is wrong. The overregulation of Democrats got to the point where they could tax you for the money, have a specific goal, which would seem to be simple.
Yeah.
We wish to build more broadband and subsidize broadband in rural areas where it may not be profitable, so everybody can get broadband.
Right.
And in 3 years, after collecting hundreds of billions of dollars to do it, they got the money.
It's there.
They didn't have the ability to spend the money.
Right.
They were completely crippled. They could not take the money, spend it on a project to complete the project.
Well, the DNC, the guys lining out the rules that were ever changing, and they ended up with two white guys. What the hell?
And when you say Harris, when you sit back and you think about it, and it's funny because if I say it, it's different than if you say it. When you just said, and they ended up with Kamala Harris, and the realization just hit me again. I'm like, God, how stupid was that?
Well,
how idiotic
that
was
was
that?
the identity politics, because what did Biden say when he was running? Who are you going to pick as your running mate? I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I know it will be a black woman.
Well, I've been thinking about that as the Democrats say, well, this is just ridiculous. What they're saying is with DEI, you don't necessarily get the right candidate for the job. We disagree with it. There's right candidate. The perfect example is Kamala Harris.
That is the example. It may be, I could be wrong here, it may be while the corporations said, ooh, maybe this isn't going to work. I mean, They ended up with Kamala. No, but it is because when Biden said that, everybody kind of cringed on the left. Ooh, yeah, don't say it out loud. But he said it out loud. He was going to pick a black woman. What about qualifications? We'll go back to Obama. Remember when who was the celebrity that did it? It wasn't Ron Howard. Oh, it was Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks. I know what a president is. Well, here's the thing. He goes on, he does this endorsement video, supposed to be thoughtful. And it was almost 10 minutes long. And never once talked about endorsing Obama at the time. Never once talked about his qualifications. And then Ron Howard, the reason I brought that name up, is because he did the same. It's time we had a black president. And what was the debate? The only debate in the spring of 2008 when it got down to Hillary and Barack Obama was, no, the first woman. No, the first black president. No, the first woman. The first black president.
This is before
nobody talked about qualifications.
This is before we were red eye.
Yep.
Eric and I were working together. This would have been, again, beginning of 2008.
Mm-hmm.
No, the primaries of 2008.
It was, spring of 2008 is kind of when it was culminating in the.
And so we actually did a show one night, and we said we only want Democrats to call.
Right.
And tell us whether you want Hillary or Obama.
Right.
And why.
Right.
We were on the air 3.5 hours, and we kept saying, give us a reason besides, because every single caller, we need Hillary because we need the first woman. Yeah. We need Obama because we need the first black.
Right.
Well, what about the issues? What about the issues? It took like 3.5, 4 hours before we and we were saying, is there no other we kept saying that. Is there no other reason?
Any other reason?
Is it now? We didn't say it when they were on because we wanted their first opinion. Then after they hung up, we said, there it is. Just the only reason we need the first woman, we need the first black person.
Yeah.
And finally, it was like 3.5 or 4 hours into the show where somebody called and said, well, Obama will keep us out of wars and Hillary won't. We went, thank God that we finally got somebody with at least an issue. And it was, I mean, that's when you knew. That's when we saw identity politics. And I know the first thing that we, laughing about Kamala Harris being a DEI hire, and the first response from Democrats would be, well, so you don't think that a black woman is qualified? Not that one.
No, I think plenty of black women would be qualified.
Right.
Condoleezza Rice comes to mind.
Yeah. She got nothing to do with it. It's the fact, don't turn it on me.
Yeah.
You're the one that simply says, I don't care what's in her brain.
Right.
I don't care about her experience. I don't care whether she has critical thinking skills. The only thing I care about, black or whatever nationality, for Kamala Harris.
Right.
What is it, Filipino? Was that it?
I don't know what she identifies as, honestly.
Yeah,
I don't.
But it was black for
remember,
for
race
Biden.
Is a social construct, according to Obama.
Right.
So
but Biden, black woman, that one.
Right.
The one that the this is a beautiful one. You can call it a DEI hire because she was the first person rejected by the Democrats.
Yeah. She dropped out in December.
Right.
Early, in fact, December 3rd of 2019. She didn't even make it to 2020.
Yeah. She was out.
Her campaign was in shambles. Right. No money.
Horrible leadership.
Yep.
I mean, the people in her campaign, this woman is just, this is just ridiculous. And then when she had to pull out first, what did she say?
She tried to say Americans were racist and and
Sexist.
misogynist.
Yeah.
And
we
said, well, wait a minute. No. This is the primary. This is your own party. Your own Democratic donors weren't sending you money, and Democratic voters weren't selecting you. You weren't. It wasn't working in the polls. Now, they never got to the point of voting. In fact, until November of 2024, when it comes to that, nobody really voted for her for president. Think about that.
But you know, why did they do it that way? Because they believed she wouldn't get it if the members of the Democratic Party actually voted on her.
Exactly.
That's really the reason.
Yep.
That's why we can safely say she was a DEI hire.
Yep.
That never got hired. Yay.
Exactly.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. I'm telling you, this is something I saw yesterday. This made me laugh. My wife asked to see my credit card statement so she can figure out why we don't have any money, and I told her very sternly that she is a danger to democracy. I mean, it's just, and then what was the other one? The Babylon Bee. Oh, yeah, this is it. The two other headlines I wanted to read. Trump becomes the first fascist in the history of the world to reduce the size of government. And Trump unveils exciting, never-before-tried strategy of having America take over a country in the Middle East.
I love it.
Oh, my gosh. Oh.
Yeah. Great.
But how the Dems are getting killed in social media. And if they're getting killed there, they're getting killed everywhere.
Yep.
And we mean not literally.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Wow. We're already to a Thursday.
Crazy.
So one of the things, and when I talk, especially to a couple of my friends, and they go, how's Trump doing the first couple of weeks?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I heard you pounding on him on something. I go, well, yeah, there are things we're going to disagree with him, but I think he's had a great first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at, it was incredibly powerful yesterday when he signed the executive order. Now, it's just an executive order, and I think Congress should come and, you know, pass legislation that says, just so you know, without question, Title IX is about biological men and biological women, end of story. That way you would have to have, if Democrats ever get control of Congress, they would actually have to pass that bill again.
Right.
After they've lost an election partly due to that position.
Right.
And so that's what you want to do to make it harder. This administration can be a success and still not be successful one day after he's out of office. Because as you see, everything can be reversed again.
Right.
Now, the only good thing about it is Americans will look at it and say, well, do we want a Democrat president who's going to change everything that has made things better that we agree, that the majority of people agree with? Will they eventually get sick and tired of what the Democrats are doing? Let me play this here, for example, to show you that the standard operating procedure for Democrats still continues.
Yeah.
This is Debbie Wasserman Shultz. I'm telling you, these people weren't around. You didn't hear them at all during Trump.
No.
But Debbie Wasserman Shultz is back. Let's see if what she says is accurate. Okay, here we go.
All right.
Jose, the fact that the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, Donald Trump's Homeland Security Secretary, called Venezuelans here in this country who are here because they fled Maduro's oppressive and brutal regime dirtbags, I mean, the insult is breathtaking.
What Secretary Noem actually said is illegal alien members of the Venezuelan gangs are dirtbags.
Yeah.
So they're doing the exact same thing that they did, with Trump last time, and it didn't work.
Same stuff, different day.
Yeah. When you look at the transgender stuff, oh man, I'm telling you, there were two. Did I save that? Or did I? Hope I saved it here. Let me just see if I saved it or whatever. This was. Oh, I know. It was okay. Let me go back to rapid response here because that's where it was.
All right.
Because the White House now with their rapid response is coming out and hitting Democrat politicians when they talk. This is Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager. Is it Dove? I think 37th District of California.
Okay.
All right. She wrote this after Trump signed the executive order saying biological men don't compete with biological women. Sports should create a sense of belonging, not divide us. If Trump really cared about protecting women in sports, he wouldn't be trying to abolish the agency that implements Title IX. Well, the Department of Education isn't necessary to have them. Title IX exists as a piece of legislation. The Department of Justice can ensure that law is followed.
Right.
Correct?
Yep.
Yeah. But when she said sports should create a sense of belonging, not divide us, the response from the White House, forcing women to lose to men in sports does not create a sense of belonging. It's just weird. 70% of Americans agree now. Take a seat, and they have the latest Gallup poll on that. And but the fact is you can't win that. But it's not only that. You look at the responses on social media. Now, of course, if it's rapid response 47, which is the White House's, response site to Democrats,
right,
you'd say, well, come on, you're skewing that, Gary, by talking about that 95 out of 100 comments are negative on the Democrats on that issue. Okay, you may have a point. So let's go to Congress. The Congresswoman's post that she had, it's the same thing.
Oh.
And who else did it? Jasmine Crockett.
Okay.
She's a nutcase. Absolutely nuts. On National Girls and Women's in Sports Day, Trump is banning trans kids from playing sports, trying to cut Title IX women's and girls' athletic grants, removing references to women, female, and equality. I don't know what the hell she's talking about there on government websites. You know what she's saying? She didn't say, she's saying trans women. That's what she means.
Yeah, men.
That's what she means.
Biological men.
Right.
And
then the response, rapid response, reposted somebody else hitting her saying Jasmine, and it's they change her name a little bit with a profanity, wants men to play in women's sports, jeopardizing women's safety and destroying all their dreams. At some point, these losers are doing this out of spite to hurt the country. And they're women hatred. They're the self-misogyny that exists from a lot of Democrat women out there. Where it comes from, I can't tell you. I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why Democrat women, especially in the Congress. Remember, there were two men that said, no, men shouldn't play against women in sports. Every single woman Democrat in Congress voted to have men punch women in the face.
Yep.
Every single one of them. Why is there this incredible self-hatred of women in the Democratic Party?
And they're fighting for it.
So you look at the response, and one is a Republican influencer who criticized her. We won't look at that because that could be viewed as biased, right?
All right.
Oh, they got people that support them.
All right.
Jasmine Crockett gets blasted. It's got to be 90 out of 100, 95 out of 100, almost the exact same when I went down. Just people blasting her on her X page.
Right.
And I'm like, you can't win this. You can't. And you look at the first 2 weeks, and you look at, for example, we played, what's his name from the Daily Show?
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
Just blasting the response of the Democrats. And the story of Fox News out there, they were all doing it. All the liberal nightly news, nightly news. They're not news. Nightly entertainment talk hosts where they have all had completely 100% a liberal bias. They're all shaking their heads going, what the hell's wrong with this party? Talking about the Democratic Party.
Right. Well, because everything right now, they don't have anybody that is a rock star, that is a, I don't know, the future of the party. I heard someone bring up Shapiro again the other day, and I thought, I don't know, we'll see, right? But what is it that they're missing? The reason that they can't deliver it, it doesn't matter who it is the content. The content, the message itself. I don't care who you get to try and sell it. Look, they've got the Pat Riley hair. Was it Rappaport? Gavin with the good hair. They've got the people who fit the mold before. Sorry, Gavin. That's not the mold anymore. Because you don't have the content. Because people are saying, well, wait, whoa. You know what burned out their candle to a large extent was COVID, the response to COVID. Overbearing. People were okay at first because, okay, we'll send you money. There was a comedian that actually did this. Mo Mayer actually did a bit on this. All right, you sent us money, and then all of a sudden here comes, and he was talking about inflation. Prices start going up, and now we're spending a lot more money than you guys sent us, and that's kind of the sentiment from a lot of people, rank and file, everyday people, right? But then, they didn't stop. And people came out of the COVID saying, whoa. Clear the deck. What were you guys doing? Lying to us, lying about Trump, and then spending like there's no tomorrow. We said all along for years, you and I have said, government handouts, who's going to get rich from those? No one. Unless it's the Chinese government and it's the Biden family. Nobody is going to get rich from that.
But that was a Chinese government.
It's a Chinese government. Yeah, they know what they're doing. And they're only doing a few handouts. But there's that's their conundrum. You're going to get rich off the government dole? No. And so everybody was looking at that going, you didn't really help. And now we got inflation. And now we're spending more out of our bank account than you ever gave us. We're underwater, and that's when I saw that special. It goes back, I think, a couple of years with Mo Mayer. And he was kind of summing it up. And I thought, that's interesting because he's younger. He's, was part of that generation. And I thought, no, that's what they're looking at. And couple that with the reality that you are the media. Something we've been saying, and we didn't say it that way, but basically you have the ability to find the truth. People can find the truth on their little computer in their hand, their smartphone, anytime they want to. They only have to have the will. Well, guess what? when you send everybody to work from home, not only do they have the will, they have the time, and they start looking for the truth. Not everybody does, but more and more people are. And you can't win against a harsh reality unless you recognize what's going on there. And as we said with the Democrats, they can't fix the problems because they created these harsh realities that everybody is dealing with. I don't know where they go.
And more evidence that it wasn't a first good 2 weeks for the Democrats. Coming up, 866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. And then, if you want more evidence of the Democrats having a tough 2 weeks, the Republican Party not hiding from the Democrats' protest, in fact, promoting them. This is from the Senate Republicans. They put out this ad, and it starts out, opinion of the Democratic Party, favorable 31%, unfavorable 57%. That comes from that poll last week that was taken. I'm going to play this ad. And again, these are all Democrats after they initially, intro this. Then it's all Democrats that you hear from that point on protesting the last couple of days. Here we go.
57% of voters have an unfavorable view of the party.
I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Get in touch with your inner scrappy little dyke. Shut down the Senate! Shut down the Senate! Shut down the Senate! Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
We don't pledge allegiance to Elon Musk.
What do we need?
When we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female.
Feels like a complicated algebra problem.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
We will win. We will win. We will win. We won't rest. We won't rest.
Gretchen.
Yes,
So
they need the Democrats.
And it's everybody on CNN laughing at the "we won't win." So it's on CNN everywhere, and then the letters come up. We don't get it either.
It is so bad right now.
And there you have it right here. Then the article's Chuck Schumer mocked by late night host for recent attempts to slam Trump. We already played Jon Stewart, what he had to say. Jimmy Kimmel, we're so effed. And then he steals a quote from Red Eye.
Yeah.
He says, we're so effed, we're doomed. All these old men.
Told you.
Well, you shouldn't say all these old men. Why? There are some old women out there, too. Maxine Waters isn't exactly.
Yeah, you misogynist.
She's not a teen.
How dare you not recognize the old women?
And so, and they go through talking about what everybody has said. Even mentioned Bakari Sellers as we played. He goes, I don't want to hear Chuck Schumer saying we won't lose, we won't rest. I'd rather have a small business person out there or a black woman who has a business. I'd rather have them out there chanting and talking. You know what he's saying? There is nobody that can represent the Democratic Party right now.
No, there isn't.
That's what Bakari Sellers is saying.
Yeah.
Everyone, well, we've said this before. It's tough to get a spokesperson when you suck on the issues. Yeah. When you suck on the issues, anyone out there promoting issues that are insane, I mean, they're horrible, is going to be a horrible spokesperson because you can't tell the American public the truth.
It doesn't matter who it is. It's about the content of the message. Now, you have to be able to deliver a message effectively, but it doesn't matter if you get the best communicator in the world if the message itself is flawed. And my question would be, okay, then what do you go back to if you're if you're the Democratic Party. You go back to, I don't know, offering free things. They know they really can't do much more of that. They know that's not resonating. I think they'd want to do that. They want to spend more money, there's no doubt. But it doesn't resonate with people because people look at that and say, nah, you gave us a ton of free stuff during the COVID thing. And
it came back to bite us.
Came back to bite us, and we know where that leads. So you can't do anything. Free health care? Yeah, you guys tried that with Obamacare. It was anything but free. We had to pay for it. You can't, they've broken all of their promises. What happens when you keep breaking promises? I've been telling my kids I was going to take them backstage to Aerosmith shows forever.
It's the Aerosmith thing again. All right, go ahead. We're used to it.
And then once they all got smartphones, I was called out. It's that broken promise. It's that liar that keeps telling you the same lies, and then all of a sudden you're rolling your eyes. You tolerate them. You let them sit at the table at Thanksgiving, but really you just kind of wish they'd go away. Nobody wants to jump in. There are liberals out there. There are Democrats. They're not the radicals, but there are people that are on the left. But now they're looking at this saying the Democratic Party is broken. The radicals have taken over, and they're not about to jump in. You know, if you looked at it like Barry Weiss, like we mentioned, Michael Schellenberger, these aren't people that are on the far right, but there are plenty of people that were Democrats before that now have their eyes open. They're not about to join the party with the state it's in, and it's not going to change.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm McNamara. Just going to the White House press briefing yesterday. You see this question here. Okay, this came from a Daily Caller reporter.
Okay.
That's the interesting thing, because they've allowed other reporters in.
Right.
Every question doesn't come from a liberal bent.
Right.
And let me see the question. The White House Correspondents Association announced that comedian Amber Ruffin, who was called the president a toddler with his pants pulled down, will be the entertainment for this year's Correspondents' Dinner. Will the president be attending the dinner this year? I don't know what the response is. I'm going to play this. This is
okay.
Levitt yesterday.
The WHCA announced that comedian Amber Ruffin, who is called the president a toddler with his pants pulled down, will be the entertainment for this year's Correspondents' Dinner. Does the White House have a reaction to this choice, and will the president be attending the dinner this year?
Certainly an interesting choice. I have the president's invitation on my desk. I have the invitation for myself on my desk as well. Haven't talked to the president about it. When he makes his decision, I will let you all know. But definitely an interesting choice of the comedian. I'll talk to the boss about it and see what we decide.
Yeah. Now, remember when it used to be a big thing? And Trump just didn't go, and it's like, nobody cares about that stuff anymore.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
You know, frankly, nobody but the members of the media cared about it before. When Trump put an end to it, it was like we all were like, yeah, no big deal. Yeah. You know, it's look, I would say Steve Bridges was the last great comedian appearance. George W. Bush and the late Steve Bridges, comedian, did a dead on George W. Bush, and with makeup on and everything else. But he looked identical, and he went up there standing next to George W. Bush. You can YouTube it. It's very funny. And so basically one of them is the inside voice of George W. Bush, and then, George Bush would say some words, and then Steve Bridges would say what he's really thinking, was just very funny. And you're not going to have many funny moments, in that. And nobody cares about the media. The reason you see it in the media is because they're all sitting there, because they're all there. They want you to see it because look what we did. It's like their Christmas party, but nobody cares about it.
I concur. One of the things, and I know it makes you happy. I don't think we've talked about this much, but I just would assume, I think I can speak for you here. I'm so glad we don't broadcast from within the Beltway and we are, around all the people from the Beltway.
Well, it takes.
I'm so happy that we broadcast.
You
from
have
Texas.
to have a work ethic, but like Larry O'Connor. You have to be somebody who just leans into it and goes full on 24/7, pretty much. Larry at WMAL on mornings. You guys listen to him, I'm sure, in D.C. Everybody does, but he has that kind of work ethic. I don't. I'm built differently. I wouldn't. It would be so. For me, it would be so bad. My sister is married to a retired major from the Air Force, and he is now one of the top people at a military contractor. And they lived in the Beltway for, 4 or 5 years. They didn't, they complained about the normal things, the cost of rent and traffic. But aside from that, my brother-in-law's very good at his job, and he just kind of keeps his head in that game. The political thing, they didn't really jump into. I mean, it's not what they did. But being in the media, you would have to, and it would be, it's when we talked to the late Andrew Breitbart in early 2012.
Just a couple of weeks before he died.
Yeah, and it was, we were talking to him about then. It looked like Mitt Romney was on the path, and it turned out to be true for the nomination in 2012 for the GOP. And I asked Andrew Breitbart, all right, why should us conservatives get behind a Mitt Romney? And he said, guys, I'm here a stone's throw from, in my apartment, a stone's throw from from SCOTUS, from the Supreme Court. And, it's all about the Supreme Court. And, but he's another one. Andrew Breitbart leaned into it and just kind of, that was his drive and loved the work that he was doing. I know that Larry O'Connor, same thing. He clearly loves his work. He's very good at it. But you really have to know that's it. You live that. That is, you kind of, and Andrew did. I mean, because of what Andrew was bringing. Andrew, if you look at it, that's journalism. You're looking to find the truth. And Breitbart News is still doing that today. They have very good reporters, very capable people there. And it's, again, if it
doesn't mean we always agree with their opinions either, though.
Nope. And
but that's not
just like National Review, Wall Street Journal. A number of look, there are things and articles that come out. I mean, I was reading Andrew McCarthy's piece from the first. It was over the weekend that he put together about some of the things that Trump was doing, and it was like, okay, well, it was specifically about the firing the IGs. And that this could be momentous, and there were some things in there, some points he made, and I was like, I don't know if I agree with that point, but overall, I get it. There are things that we can sit and pick apart, but if you're going to do this work and you're going to be inside the Beltway, I mean, you're kind of. I don't think I would do well inside the bubble. That's the problem.
That's what I meant.
The bubble is the.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
For me, that's 1,000 or maybe 1 trillion. Teenagers in a gymnasium, all screaming at the same time, and that kind of noise. It's beyond chatter; it's noise. I would have to find my, place in that, and that would be the most difficult part. I think, it's I like being where we are and still being able to look in and find everything and see everything that's going on. Because I think it's
I couldn't sit at a White House Correspondents' Dinner. I couldn't
not
hang
for a moment.
I just couldn't hang out. Well, number one, the late night bar runs. Too old for that.
Yeah.
But I'm just glad we broadcast from Texas. Continuing on with what we've been talking about the first 2 weeks and how the Democrats are just imploding. And we've given you some examples. And as we play that commercial from Senate Republicans put out, where they're playing everything the Democrats are saying. Republicans don't want to censor Democrats. Democrats are out there going, "Rah!" And they're like, okay, the right doesn't want to respond to this. And the right is like playing everything that they have. And you know it from the late night talk show hosts that are all liberals saying, this isn't working. We're doomed.
Right.
We're effed. Get the old men out of here. Get somebody new in there. Even Bakari Sellers on CNN saying we got to get somebody besides Schumer or anybody else out there.
Right.
In fact, when he talks about who they should have out there, get normal people out there talking that disagree with what the president's doing, who's a business person or something like that, because they realize they have no effective spokesperson right now, none.
Right.
And I want to play this here. This is from CNN. And this is was Scott Jennings talking about the problem is Trump is picking, things like the radical transgender movement, wanting to get out of debt. And he goes, he's picking all these 80-20 issues. And he's, and he's promoting these 80-20 issues. And the Democrats are screaming about the 20%. And he goes, now the Democratic Party has a 31% approval rating, and they're asking why. Here's part of that audio. Here we go.
He's describing what is currently the dumbest strategy in politics, which is Democrats taking the 20% side of every 80-20 issue in America. USAID, people want this pared down. They want it streamlined. They want to know where the money is going. Democrats have a meltdown. Today, Donald Trump signs executive order on keeping boys out of girls' sports. Democrats take the 20 side of that issue as well. All these issues, this is like Trump's superpower, finding a bunch of 80-20 issues, getting on the 80, and everybody who's sort of reflexively against him gets on the 20. And now the Democratic Party has like a 31% approval rating. This is why.
And the other thing they're doing is, too, on things, even like Gaza, because you and I understood what he was saying. I mean, look, there are things we disagree. We had a lot of discussion earlier this week on the tariff strategy and the history of tariffs and everything else. And, for the president, it didn't affect anybody. I mean, when the president says anybody who is for tariffs is being controlled by China, well, most people know that's not true.
Right.
It's like, and, taking shots at the Wall Street Journal, National Review, magazines. And it's funny because I've gotten some response, that, of course, I'm controlled by China. And so is the Wall Street Journal and National Review.
Yeah.
And people know that's ridiculous. And, but the president has done that rhetoric for so long where it just doesn't mean anything, and the people that he's attacking don't care.
Right.
Then it's like
Rupert Murdoch was sitting right next to him when he said it.
That's the best thing ever. Yeah. That is, he's basically saying that the Wall Street Journal is controlled by China. The owner of the Wall Street Journal is sitting next to him. I mean, that just was the best thing ever. But with Trump, you learn that he's going to say a lot of things, and you got to go, okay, put that out, put that out, put that out. What's he focusing on, and what legislation or what executive orders is he actually doing, and where is this going?
Right.
And that's what and that's what we do. And then you look at, as we do, we look at economics and what drives economics. And do we have disagreements with this administration? Yeah. But for the most part, as I've said before, I agree with this president more than I have any Republican president, maybe except for Reagan in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I've never put together and looked at all the issues from the 80s and said, okay, well, where do I stand on this? And some of the things, with Reagan, for example, those tax cuts probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Jack Kemp.
Right.
See, I'm lucky. My first football hero and tax policy politician is the same person.
Yeah.
The late Jack Kemp.
Right.
Now, I didn't agree with Jack Kemp on a ton of stuff. But on the fiscal matters, Jack Kemp knew about economics. And he's the one that really convinced, Reagan, you got to cut taxes like this.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. But you're going to have differences of opinion and all that. But it's just a complete meltdown by the Democrats, and it's not working for them, and it's across the board on everything. And as we played, earlier from Jon Stewart or whoever, they're all saying this is just nuts. And then I want to get to the one thing here, because now I gotta find this here. Here it is. The violent rhetoric is all coming from Democrats, and they're being called out on it. This is, I think this is Ducey. I believe this is Ducey in this audio cut, asking Levitt about the violent rhetoric that's coming from Democrats.
Region.
Peter. Thank you, Caroline.
It is. Yeah.
Are any officials here preparing to fight Democratic lawmakers in the streets?
Absolutely not.
So,
thanks for the question.
Some elected Democrats are so steamed about Doge. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver says we are at war. Ilhan Omar says we might actually see somebody get killed. And Chris Van Hollen says we have to fight this in the Congress. We have to fight this in the streets. So what now?
And may I just point out, if you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here. And for Democrat officials to incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable for that rhetoric.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So overall, a good first 2 weeks for Trump, and horrible 2 weeks for the Democrats.
Yeah.
I still find, because look, we know where the Republicans are going on almost everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
almost
right,
everything
right.
we know where the Republicans' direction is. We have no idea, which makes it to me a more interesting story, not a more important story, but a more interesting story.
Yeah.
Where are Democrats going to go?
Right.
Because there's this great mystery, and they keep, what is it? We say that they're insane on the issues, but what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again.
Expecting different results.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just, you shake your head, but they don't know where to go.
You
Why?
can't rebuild something that was built for so long.
They stinky poo on the issues.
Yeah, they do.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right. Let's just take a deep breath here.
All right, fine.
I haven't had time since Trump's been in office. I swear I haven't worked out as much. I have to put the phone down. Even when I go shopping, I got caught in the self-service line the other day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, sir, move forward, because I'm looking at my phone.
Yeah.
And it's like things are breaking so fast, which is really, really great. I mean, I love it. I think yesterday I called it information cocaine. And to my buddies yesterday, they said, my gosh, stuff's going fast. How you handling? And I said, it's the adrenaline's running all the time. It's fantastic. It's like I called it to my buddies, political cocaine without any of the bad side effects.
Yesterday morning, I was doing some things, and then I went to my phone, checked everything, cleared everything, and it was about 20 minutes had gone by. I looked down at my phone. No new notifications.
Is my phone broken?
Exactly. You know what I did? What? I restarted my phone because I thought my notifications aren't coming through. I actually restarted my phone.
It's great. It's like, this is what we do. Mm-hmm. It's like being in the Super Bowl every single day.
But it really is great. There will be a point at some point when, I don't know, things slow down a little bit. Well, like that 20 minutes yesterday. I was jonesing for notifications.
Well, I am going to take a little bit of a break tomorrow.
Are you?
I got to go see Buck.
All right. Buck Taylor?
Buck Taylor, yes.
All right.
I've got to go to the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo to see my old friend Buck Taylor, the very famous Hollywood character actor in so many movies. Originally was in Gunsmoke, and I did pull out. I just love it. Did you ever see the YouTube video where if you go to YouTube, you put in Buck Taylor and Val Kilmer, and it's from Tombstone.
Oh, yeah.
And they're both on horses, and it's a scene where it's basically behind the scenes where they're riding, and they're talking to each other, and Val Kilmer looks at, and it makes me so sad because when I saw the Val Kilmer documentary, about just how sick he's been in his medical issues and all that.
Right.
And Buck's, sitting on one horse and Val Kilmer's in the other, and Val Kilmer looks at me and goes, "I love you, Buck." Yeah. And I love that because we actually, I just very quickly, I met Buck Taylor. Not only is he one of the most famous character actors of all time in Hollywood, but he's probably the world's premier Western artist with his watercolor and acrylic paintings of Western scenes. I've got a Buck Taylor, a real nice Buck Taylor, up above my fireplace, and it's perfect because it's over brick and the frame and everything is perfect. But it's when I did my local show. This goes back 25 years ago.
Yeah,
doing my local show.
Right.
And every day we would go to the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo and broadcast live. And this guy comes up to me, and you're between breaks and people want to come up and talk to you. And this guy came up, cowboy hat and everything else. He said, "Hey," he said, "my name's Buck. Just want to say I listen to your show all the time, and I love you, man. It's just, well, thank you so much." And we talked for a couple minutes. He goes, "Well, I'll let you go because I know you're going back on the air." And he said, "Yeah, I'm down here with my Western art." And I said, "Great, whatever." Didn't even think whether he looked familiar or whatever. Next person comes up to me and says, "You know who that is?" I go, "That's Buck Taylor from Gunsmoke." I went, "Oh, my God, that's Newley from Gunsmoke."
Yeah.
It's the only show my father ever watched with consistency that he would actually, because my father is not somebody who watches television. It's the only show he ever watched with consistency. And so I went, I've got to go down and just, tell him. And I'd seen him in other things before because once I saw his face, I go, "Oh, I know who he is." And he was in the movie Tombstone. What is it? What's the one? Aliens and Cowboys and Aliens. The beginning of
Cowboys versus Aliens.
Cowboys versus Aliens, or whatever it was. Yeah, he's in the first scene of that one. With his, by the way, with his two sons.
Yeah,
which was,
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone
For
a
couple of years.
Yeah, Emmett Walsh. He was in there from 2018 to 2022. He was in
Hell or High Water.
Yeah, the bank scene, Hell or High Water, when he comes walking in.
Yeah,
and so I went down and started talking. I said, "My father is your biggest fan," and we started talking back and forth, and he gave me a picture. He had a picture there in a little frame with the Gunsmoke cast.
Yeah.
And he signed it to my father, whatever.
Oh, wow.
And I gave it to my father.
Yeah.
And it's probably the best gift I've ever given my father. And I've often told my brothers and sisters, I said, I don't want anything from Dad's will except that.
Ah, right.
It's the only thing I want.
Yeah.
It's the only thing and so I would go every year and see him. And then I would see him also because I'd see him twice a year. And we had great talks. And it was, I don't know, probably about 10 years ago. He goes, I love you, Gare. And I go, I love you too. And we always say it to each other. And we talked about the fact that if we had met earlier in life and weren't so busy in doing the things that we were doing, that we would be great friends who would hang around together.
Right.
And it's just so great. And because of COVID and everything else, I haven't seen him in a couple of years. And I'm like, I got to go see him. I said, he's got to be in his mid-80s. I just checked. He's 86. But I've, just such a great, such a great human being. He knows everybody. And yes, he is a conservative in Hollywood.
Yeah, right. But if there are certain roles you can't put anybody but Buck in. It has to be Buck.
Yeah.
That Yellowstone role.
Well,
Hell or High Water, which was a pivotal bank scene.
Yes.
Bank robbery scene.
Right. And he's just
it just goes haywire, and Buck is at the center of that.
Right. But he's really calm and cool.
Yeah.
It's not like
well, you don't. That's the thing. At
he's
first,
not
I
not the
didn't
guy
notice
panicking.
it was him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, whoa, that's Buck Taylor. And because that scene just really just boom. And it's a pivotal moment in the storyline. But, growing up, by then it was reruns of Gunsmoke all the time. And so, if you said Newly, there was only one Newly. I don't know any other Newly. But that was his character on Gunsmoke. And then, of course, Tombstone, which is by far my favorite Western. And I've seen it, I don't know how many times, but if you look at Hell or High Water was kind of a modern Western. There was, because it took place, in, this small town, rural area. I think they filmed a few scenes in Texas and New Mexico and the scenery surrounding it. Taylor Sheridan, who wrote everything, and it was just I thought it was a very, very good movie.
Oh, and the last time I saw Buck, I can't remember it. Maybe it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I can't remember. But last time I was there, I walked up and he goes, "Darn it!" He goes, "Why weren't you here 5 minutes ago?" I said, "Why?" He goes, "I want to introduce you to Taylor Sheridan."
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I could have just chucked this show and I could have been a famous actor.
By the way, did you see he's on the list of the top landowners now because he bought the 4-6's ranch a few years ago, and so that put him on with all that acreage, and I think it's 4 or 5 different companies with it. They've got a new restaurant, the 4-6's restaurant in Vegas. I read that too. For some reason, it's coming up. Well, and he's the real deal, by the way. Also, Sheridan's also a real cowboy. So.
Oh, I know. Well, that's the thing because I will do this will be my Halloween. It's the only time I ever dress up.
Yeah.
I'll put on my cowboy hat, my cowboy boots. I actually have a WBAP here where both you and I started. Belt buckle, cowboy belt buckle. That was given to me by the great DJ and then talk show host in Buffalo, New York, Sandy Beach, who used to work. He was program director at WBAP.
Yeah.
He hired Hal J for mornings.
Right.
And he took over the show when I left in Buffalo and went to Portland back in the mid-'90s.
Right.
He took over my show. So I will dress up in my costume, and then I go there, and it's like I've got it all on, and you look and you go, those people are real cowboys. I'm a poser. And then I even because Buck's in the Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Right.
He's got a rant. I mean, he still rides.
No, he's a
in
real
fact,
cowboy.
The last picture I have with him, I'll show it to you.
Mhm.
He's in a cast.
Yeah.
From riding.
Right.
And he's in his. I don't know if I'll find out if he still rides or not, but he was riding 3 years ago.
Right.
And he's got the ranch and everything else. But one of my favorite times there. One time I'm sitting there and I see him, and I go up and I see him. He's not in his booth; he's in another booth, and I start talking. He goes, "Hey, Gary, whatever." And he goes, "Hey," he goes, "This is Barry. It's Barry Corbin."
Oh yeah,
the actor.
another great Western actor, comedic actor. I mean, he's just very funny.
Oh, Northern Exposure. Well, you know what I love him in? Oh, what is it? The movie with Tom Hanks from the mid '80s. I can't think of the name of it. Oh, Nothing in Common.
Oh, okay.
Jackie Gleason's last movie.
Right, yeah.
And he's like the airline, Barry Corbin's the airline executive and just complete idiot character. Right. But there I am sitting next to, and it's Buck Taylor and Barry Corbin talking. You ever want to feel like you're out of place or out of your league? I felt like, and even though I'm having the discussion with them, I'm like, I don't belong. These are two cowboys here. I don't belong in this discussion.
Yeah, no
but
joke.
Extremely down to earth. If you don't think there are people in Hollywood that are down to earth, and he told me, he said, Taylor Sheridan, you'd like him. He's really down to earth.
Well,
really
it's, I'm related to the founder of the 4-6s Ranch, Samuel Burke Burnett. I only found that out because Taylor Sheridan bought the 4-6s Ranch. My sister said, you saw the story on Taylor Sheridan buying the 4-6s? Yeah. It was in the Burnett family. Yeah. Well, on our mom's side, we're the Burnetts. And so are we related? And I double-checked it, and I was like, oh, yeah, we are. And that doesn't get me anything, but I'd love a tour of the ranch. I'd love to tell them the story because I did a bunch of research on Samuel Burke Burnett and the ranching industry and how it started in Texas and in other states. And his story is fascinating. I think they're going to do a series on it or a movie on it. I've heard Sheridan is working on something on the 4-6s. I don't know if it's going to be the backstory or not, or if it will just be the modern thing. But I would just like to tour the ranch. My brother lives not far from it, but I would love to just go see it and tour the ranch. It's fascinating to me to look at because it's cattle, it's oil, there's like 4 or 5 different businesses and corporations that are part of that ranch, and now movie making and television making. But to me, the history is fascinating, and so I'm interested in that. So I'd love to talk to Taylor Sheridan on that.
The interesting thing, I knew Buck for a couple of years and didn't even realize that as a kid I watched his father all the time in the Westerns, Dub Taylor.
Yeah, Dub Taylor.
You see Dub Taylor, it's like, that's your father? I mean, I remember when I had to tell him, I had no idea Dub Taylor was your father.
Right.
And then you know that he tried out. He was, and this, I laugh because you just don't, you look at Buck Taylor, if you just, put him in Wikipedia, you go, really? He was a gymnast.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't qualify, but he tried out for the 1960 Olympic team.
All right. Wow.
He's a gymnast.
Wow. That's a workout.
And he graduated from North Hollywood High School.
Wow.
And he's in the Cowboy. Probably one of the few people from Hollywood in the Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Yeah. He might be the only one.
But yeah. He is a cowboy.
Oh,
without question. He really is a cowboy.
He really is.
It'll be fun. And I'll report back on Monday how he's doing everything.
Yeah,
because every time I bring him up, people email me who have met him at the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo and say, oh, thank you so much. I didn't know you know him. And then they'll say, yeah, we asked him, do you know Gary McNamara? Go,
yeah, exactly. That's great.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. A supporting document is a document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, including receipts for meals, lodging, and fuel, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, well, Pam Bondi is in as Attorney General, and the story out that she orders the Department of Justice to pause federal funding for sanctuary cities. We'll get that story coming up. But just very quickly, because you and I, this is just on how newspapers cover stuff. You and I saw the same headline. Nothing to do with politics, but we both went yesterday, stop it! And there was a headline in Fox News that both you and I saw, and we knew it, and it says right there, AC/DC fans just learning the origin of the band's name after decades in the spotlight.
No.
You and I saw that headline and go, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
We've known this for decades.
Yeah, the sewing machine story is old.
Right. Their sister sewing machine said AC/DC on the back.
Yeah.
And it was that simple, and it's
about the power.
Electricity, high energy, that's what they were about.
Right.
It wasn't any of the satanic stuff. But then they even mentioned, they said, though AC/DC has spent decades in the spotlight, some fans are just learning of the origin and meaning of the group's name. The headline says AC/DC fans just learning the origin of the band's name after decades in the spotlight, as if it was a secret and nobody knew.
Right.
It's public knowledge.
Right.
This is just how journalism is going today. This isn't about AC/DC. Even though if you'd like to talk heavy metal for the next half hour, I guess we could.
We could do that.
But it's it's on journalism. You and I saw this and go, don't do that.
Right. No, it's the clickbaiting is so bad. It doesn't look good on you. I get it. There are a lot of articles out there and you look at the source and you're like, well, what is that website? Well, these are articles that are written only to facilitate the advertising, right? And then it'll give you 2 years of, 2 years worth of reading.
Of background.
Of background.
Oh.
It all started in 1901 when a man, and then you got to scroll down. Well, because they're placing ads along the way. And it's like, nope. And
Trump said this last week.
Right.
He did. Let me read this.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was born.
Yeah.
or in his childhood.
Or this one food that you're eating every day is making you fat.
Right.
These stupid things. But if you're a news organization, stop it.
Yeah.
You lose credibility.
I know.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. By the way, I will say on that clickbaiting thing, the articles that always say, this one food you eat every day is making you fat. I always fall for it immediately. I put down the cupcake, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll just wipe my hands and
I do
search it.
I do like the clickbaits that occasionally even get me that say something like this person said this yesterday.
Right.
And you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty controversial. I want to see the full context of that. And then you go to the article. This person has said many controversial things in the past and said something extremely controversial yesterday. But let's do some background on this person's life. They were born in 1966.
Right.
To a mother and a father, and they go through their entire lives. As soon as that happens, I'm gone.
And when they said it, it was part of a movie script. They actually weren't saying it. You know, I mean, it's
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Whenever I see that, I go, ah.
Yeah, the clickbaiting now. A lot of the clickbaiting is what you saw from that AC/DC story, but also on other stories. I mean, weather is a big right now. They're using weather in a big way to, this area of the country could suffer that blah 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 blah. And it's like, all right, when it's a serious thing like a hurricane, or a massive winter storm, then it warrants that kind of headline and that kind of alert. That's my problem with it. Actually, is you don't want to cry wolf. You don't post those stories all the time. And there was here in North Texas, Tornado Alley, so heavy storms gets our attention, and we're coming up on that time of year.
Yeah.
But far too often it is, parts of the area could be affected by, and it's, all right, well, hold on a second. It's, you want the forecast. I know they're doing their job. You want them to click on it or open the app or whatever it might be. But when you're messing with weather, ultimately, if you get into the crying wolf thing when there is a storm or some kind of threat and, it pops up. We've had that a couple of times, actually. Storm pops up and it really wasn't in the forecast or it gets more serious than they thought, then people may not be on alert. I mean, it's, again, I just don't like the clickbaiting kind of approach when it comes to important stuff.
I figured one out the other day because it actually was true, but it sounded like clickbaiting. But then I figured it out. It said, massive cold front moving in, temperatures could drop 30 degrees. I'm like, well, yeah, because it's 84 today, and if it goes down to 54 as a high.
To get more seasonal.
Yeah, that's more seasonal.
Yeah.
Actually, the news was that it was 84 degrees.
Right, yeah.
In the beginning of February. That was the news. The cold front isn't the news. The warm front was the news.
Right.
But when I said 30 degrees, 84, 54, and then later on when I was looking at the weather, it was like, okay, it's going to be 54.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
That's it. All right, some other stories out there. The White House made clear yesterday that U.S. involvement in rebuilding Gaza does not mean a commitment to sending troops there or using tax dollars to fund the effort. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt fielded a question from NBC senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake early in the briefing after President Donald Trump said Tuesday that the United States would take over the Gaza Strip. Trump also said his vision included moving Gazans to nearby Arab nations, which Leavitt said Wednesday would be temporary. Rand Paul went nuts over that yesterday. He was like,
yeah.
Trump said America first.
Yeah.
This isn't America first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they said, well, necessarily, because let me take just to take a step back, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is, she said, and that's why the American people elected him, and his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region. You and I read through it yesterday, and I think you and I had the realistic interpretation of what happened there.
I didn't hear. Okay, there is the Trumpism thing that you have to factor into a live press conference, especially a joint press conference, and I didn't have a takeaway that said anything absolute. I had a lot of questions. And I think that, the media certainly came away with a ton of questions, which we saw yesterday at the presser, and it was, okay, are we sending troops there? What does it mean? How committed are they? Netanyahu, in one of his answers in that press conference, actually said, we're looking at this, we're talking about this. and it may be a good idea. It seems like a good idea, and we're going to have more talks. And there was nothing really fully committed. And of course, you would need Israel to be committed here for anything long term. So, it was more questions than anything. And the presentation, the effect of it for me was, imagine Gaza being a place where people wouldn't be afraid to go there, where it'd be completely peaceful and it would be okay to live. It would be nice to live. Trump said world class. That's when I got the live golf, make it into one huge golf course thing.
Because he talked about it being basically the dream would be a resort.
Yeah.
But as, again, immediately.
A destination, yeah.
But immediately his White House, Special Ambassador to the Middle East said, well, you wouldn't even start this for 10 or 15 years because of, the destruction in Gaza to begin with. So, it's basically looking and saying, like you would for any development. You look at cities that talk about, here's what we think we're going to do, and here are the plans, here are the 3 different plans out there, and then nothing happens.
Right.
On it. But the fact is you're talking about, but what was, to me, crystal clear that was implied by the president was we stand behind Israel, and Hamas will not be allowed to have any type of ruling in Gaza. That's what I got out of it. Right. And the rest of the stuff, that would like to see this and resort, and we would have when he said ownership, that's a word he probably shouldn't have used. But again, I looked at the probability of something like that happening and the context in which he was saying it, and again, the president at times he's been much better communicator than he was before, and at times he drifts off a little bit into things that are dreams. But I understand his style now. I understand it. You understand it. Right. And as we said yesterday, what we got out of it is Israel loves him for it. It shows he's going to back Israel. He said, U.S. troops, he wouldn't discount it, which is something that I think American presidents should say.
Right. Exactly.
Even if you don't ever do it,
right.
You always hold that somebody who they know, somebody who the world knows will go after and kill your leaders if you attack our soldiers.
Right,
because he's done it.
Right.
When he says it, it's different than an Obama saying it or a Biden saying it, even if he never does it. You always put that thought into their heads. We're willing to back Israel with our troops, even if you never get to that point of doing so.
Right.
And I understood that. That's why Rand Paul, he was like, ah! You saw that yesterday. Where Rand Paul was like, I thought he was America first. I thought it was America first.
Right.
Like, Trump isn't sending troops there.
No.
Come on.
No.
So, and so, like I said, it was, the 2 things that were crystal clear is that I back Israel and I take the side of Israel, and Hamas cannot stay there. That whatever ends up there, Hamas is not going to be a part of the governing body of Gaza.
Right. Right.
Either
way, the goal is to eliminate Hamas, and Netanyahu talked about that. And of course, that has to be the goal.
Right.
In order to get to a very peaceful place. What it looks like, the infrastructure and how it's set up is years and years from happening.
And you're not going to stop. Trump is who he is. And he is a much improved communicator, but he's still going to go off down certain paths without fully explaining it. And that's where you need a good White House spokesperson. That's who he is. As I said early on, the number one reason I voted for Trump was to stop the weaponization of government. I got that yesterday with Bondi being in there.
Right.
With Bondi being in there. And then you see what's going on when it comes to Doge. And it's much more aggressive than I thought it would be.
Right.
Which I'm very pleased with. And I don't care if they're right on 80% of it and wrong on 20%, and they can only cut 10% of that 80% that they're right on, that's the biggest accomplishment in cutting anything in American frickin' history.
Exactly.
Excuse me. Fiscal frickin' history. And so it's fine, it's fine with me. And, the media's just around the edges. Are they going to make a mistake? They made a mistake here because it's money. And they said with the Politico story yesterday, they said, well, Politico isn't getting all the money. It's spread with subscriptions to a number of different publications. Oh, so what you told me is the problem is more widespread.
Yeah.
You actually didn't win that one.
Right. And you're making it worse for you.
Right. So I just burst out laughing there. I love the bluntness coming from it. I think yesterday the substance and the imagery of the president signing the executive order to ensure that men don't play in women's sports was wonderful. I loved Levitt's response here to this question yesterday on the entire issue. Here we go.
Thank you. And one more on media coverage of this executive order and the topic in general. What's the White House's view of framing that calls men transgender females or similar rhetoric coming from organizations like the ACLU and GLAAD?
Well, it's been very clear. The policy of this administration is that there are only two sexes, male and female. Pretty simple. Brian Glenn.
Yep. Next.
Yep.
No long explanation. Just boom.
Well, and no apologies here. The thing about what's going on right now is that the GOP has been using the same language as the left for far too long. And basically, when you do that, you're buying into their agenda. You're helping their agenda stay in place. I remember Biden on the campaign trail 2020. How many genders are there? 3. Yeah. Oh, wrong answer.
Wrong answer.
Wrong answer, dude. That is so incorrect. Well, and the thing is that, for him, he couldn't even keep his, they couldn't keep up with that. But if you're a Republican in office, you have to be very clear about where you are. Well, we're going to take a look at John Boehner. Well, we don't like messy. No, it isn't messy, John. It's only messy if you make it that way.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today because right after our show ends, and our show ends 5 a.m. Central Time, 6 a.m. Eastern Time, and you guys can figure out the rest of the time zones.
Yeah, do your own math, California.
Right, and and I got a comment on that coming up after what was said at the analysis of the White House press briefing yesterday.
Do your own Common Core math.
Where Levitt said we need, basically to do math, reading, and writing, and she didn't include everybody else, and the Democrats are saying, she doesn't want science taught. It's like, oh, my gosh. Yeah. But, yeah, after our show's over, it turns into our podcast. We record our entire show, and then our podcast plays from now until the end of the world.
That's
and
right.
If you cannot listen for some reason to one of our great radio stations that carries us overnight, we stream our show all 5 hours live on our Red Eye Radio app.
That's right.
So, yeah, that was interesting. It was like the and by the way, the left's coming back to X. They have to. They have to because they're getting attacked so much. I mean, the defense is horrible. Like I said, that was the one thing where Caroline Levitt said yesterday, no, we want schools to be teaching reading, writing, and math.
Right.
And it's like, immediately it's because she wasn't fully, and everybody knows what she means. It's like, she doesn't want science taught. She doesn't want history taught. She doesn't want physical education. See, they're trying not to educate our kids. And
hey, let's talk biology. Anybody want to talk biology? Boys, girls, biology. Anyone? Anyone?
Gosh. But I mean, they're so desperate right now. And coming up, following the top of the hour, the Attorney General is in, and the story says she's ordered the Department of Justice to pause federal funding for sanctuary cities. Ooh.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.